Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks and Gainy Titan. We're here on Abbey Encounter and I'm in the FE215B. The FE215B was my first ever Tier 10 tank. And around about the time I got it, which is nearly 3 years ago now, I would have been playing for less than a year. Around about the time that I got the FE215B, there was a similar competition to the one that I was playing these Tier 10 tanks for, where you had to play Tier 10 tanks and gain a certain amount of experience or damage. I can't really remember which. And it was available for 13 or 16 or 20 days or something like that. And it took me an enormous effort at that time, because I had no clue what I was doing and I was very, very poor at Tier 10. Now, I'm still pretty poor at Tier 10. I'm not a good Tier 10 player. I don't have the practice, and I just, I suppose, don't have the experience. And well, I suppose I'm not a top level player anyway at the best of times, but I have most of my experience has been in the mid tiers, Tier 6 to Tier 8. And I'm very, very used to the game at that levels, because mostly I have been grinding out tanks across multiple nations at those levels. But I remember at the time anyway, it took me something like 200 battles or 300 battles to, and every minute, that I could spare to play the tanks to actually gain that day of premium at the time. This time it was actually quite easy. I can't actually tell you how many battles it took, but I did it over a period of 2 days without any undue stress or bother, and I'd have done it a lot quicker if I'd stayed away from the FE215B 1A3, the Death Star, but I kept insisting on playing the Death Star and playing it really, really badly. Match after match after match. Now I did have one game, I won't say that I played well, but I did a lot of damage. Probably the most damage I've done, I did something over 7,000 points of damage, which is not remarkable for a Death Star, but it's remarkable for me. I hadn't done it before. And I will share this with you later on in the week. So, I think the enemy here have made a cardinal mistake. We're 2 minutes into the game. They haven't attempted the cap, which is kind of surprising considering they're not down this side of the map. However, they only sent one tank down this side of the map, and I think that's where the cardinal mistake comes in, because in my experience, if the enemy team is unopposed going up or down the one line, they generally will arrive at the other end of the map in plenty of time to intercept a cap or prevent a cap. Whereas if they're opposed long enough to delay them, say another 2 or 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, the longer the better, then by the time they've cleared the opposition, even if they overwhelmingly outnumber them, it can actually be too late to influence the actual game. The game has actually been decided. Now I rather foolishly shoot there at the low plate of the VK4502. Which just shows the brain isn't always ticking over or thinking about what exactly that I'm dealing with. Now there's enough of our team have come around here that I don't need to immediately go towards the cap circle. So I'm going to head straight down here towards the T10, because if the T10 gets involved in the fight with the M103 and whatever that medium tank down by the lake, then it could turn the tide of that particular battle. Now the T10 is also engaged in some tanks by the edge of the village. So I'm going to come up here and I drive past, he's actually in here. Thought he might have been slightly further over, but he's in here, so we put a round into him, and he doesn't hang around, he just drives forward, but against the amount of opposition he was facing, he just didn't make it. So we have the Waffenträger heading into the northern edge here, and I fire at him. And it looks like a solid hit, but it looks like I just hit the gun. But I didn't actually hit any of the main body of the tank. All we're getting is a critical and some indication of gun damage, but he has most of his health been removed. And he's up against the mouse. I mean, even if he hits the mouse a second time, the mouse is just going to obliterate him with the next shot. So I'm not going to get involved in that either. The cap circle is starting to get contested, so I'm coming down this way. Now, I come down here to contest the cap circle, but when I come in I find the enemy tanks are actually mostly on the other side. They're not even hanging around on the ridgeline too long, because I suppose they're being shot at as well from tanks inside the Abbey. Not just these two guys down here. And they're taking damage from across the way in the Abbey. Now I think about going up. Ultimately I want to get up there. But I've tried it twice since, and I discovered that going up here is actually, it's a bad idea. It's not so much that you get shot at when you're up here, but the problem is that if the tanks go down into the low ground, what I have found going up here is if the enemy tanks are down in the low ground, you then have a problem in that they're so low you don't really have the gun depression to hit them. And if you push forward, as you're pushing forward, you're going to get shot multiple times as you reach the edge of the escarpment on their side. It's the same problem they have by being up here in reverse. So I kind of got away with it this time, but it's probably not the best of ideas. Like I said, I've tried it once since, and the gun depression bit is the really hard bit. You're up here and the slope of the ground's against you. It actually slopes towards the village. So your tank is going to be elevated and your gun is going to be elevated, and you're then trying to bring the gun down. So you usually finish up having to position the tank so that you're firing out over the rear of the tank. In a region like this where you're using the ground, the terrain, to actually bring your gun down. Problem with this, of course, is if the artillery was, if this was a traditional battle now and the artillery was up around A6, I'd be completely exposed to artillery and it'd be a very tempting target. So while I'm very much of the opinion that the best way to learn how to do stuff in World of Tanks is actually try it out, and there's no harm in trying out ridiculous stuff, because if it works, it's you know, it's not stupid, so to speak. But I found this particular thing now to be, I mean, yeah, it worked this time in the sense that I was able to get the tank into a position to shoot the mouse, but the mouse is pretty tall. If I'd been just facing the IS-7, that wouldn't have been a huge issue either. I could have just driven over the top and driven straight into contact with the IS-7. But there's no way I can drive over the top with 3 tanks there. I have to get rid of one of them, and preferably 2 of them. Now we've managed to put some useful rounds into the mouse, but he has now responded to my presence and he's starting to face his turret towards me. And there are no real weak spots at the top of the turret, top front of the turret at any rate. But then somebody finishes him off. That was a very solid hit. And therefore, there's no sign of the medium tank, so I thought, right, I'm going to go after the IS-7. Put a round through his lower front plate, and of course the medium tank was behind him, unspotted. So I put the second round in, ammo rack him for 155 points of damage. Took a lot of damage there from the T-69. However, I'm still alive, and he's on a reload. So I have 35 seconds thereabouts to do as much damage to him as I could. So I got one shot in, I got a second shot in. I was hoping to drown him actually. I was hoping that he might have difficulty backing out of the lake here, but the slope was easy enough so he was able to make it. So I had to pull back. But he stayed in the water, so I fluffed that shot completely. And I've tracked him now, but he's not dead yet, as the man said. So I got in the final shot there and finished him off. That explosion behind me was artillery. Shaved off most of my health, left me with 24 hit points. Which means the artillery's on the other side of the river. Now, somebody pinged this location and they turned out to be right. I didn't actually know you could cross the river here, and I certainly wasn't going to try. It's one thing being on low hit points chasing after artillery. I mean, it is risky, and I've done reasonably well, but it's worth the risk, I think. But the biggest danger with a bottlenecked position like where artillery is likely to be in is that if I try and drive into the bottleneck and I die, I'm making it vastly harder for the next guy to try to drive into the bottleneck. So in circumstances like that, you shouldn't risk it. So I came up here. I thought he might be up here, and that I could spot him. But then somebody crosses over the center line there, a heavy tank actually, and any moment now artillery's position will be revealed. So we're just looking around here. I don't know why I thought I could spot him when, like I said, there's been medium tanks down this way and around this side. So artillery's finally being revealed there at D9. I honestly, hadn't seen this before, so I didn't know you could go in there. And I'm quite amazed that he's able to actually lob a shot into my position there when I was taking out the T-69 from that location. It must be shallow enough, like, at the same time. So I have no intention of going in there after him. It's just too risky that I would finish up acting as cover and enabling him to kill more of our tanks. But I am going to sit over here on the off chance that he's forced to break cover, or that I can get a line of sight on him. So just the edge of his tank is starting to show there. So I'm hoping that if I have a little bit of patience, I might be able to get the shot off. He is jinking back and forth, and I was watching him, so eventually I fire. Now that one I'm pretty sure went over him. But I get the reload in, and he has turned now. He's facing more my direction. And that looks like it went through him because the explosion is directly behind his turret there. However it got there, he didn't die from my hand. So we did over 4,000 damage, we did 1,300 assistance damage, we unlocked a rare achievement, won and survived 10 tier 10 battles. Now I'm pretty sure I've done that ages ago, so the achievement has just been added and I've now activated it. However, I think a lot of the recent achievements are a bit like that. But we finish up with a first class mastery. We got a steel wall as well for the 2,500 damage blocked. We came second by experience and finished up with 7 medals. So I hope you found the video interesting and enjoyed it. And if you did, please give it a like and consider giving the channel a subscription. And thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all again soon.